Dave Ramsey is a financial expert who believes strongly against taking on debt.
Get out of debt.
Airrack is a fast-rising big-name YouTuber who got big by taking on debt.
I went to the bank the next day and applied for an SBA loan of $17,500. Got it a day later. This is like so much risk, it makes my stomach hurt.
It's amazing how intentionally ignoring financial experts' advice is exactly what makes some of the biggest YouTubers rich. Airrack versus Dave Ramsey. No debt versus all in on debt. Dave Ramsey went bankrupt when he was younger. As a result, he was heavily influenced by that experience, which led to the core of his financial advice to be about avoiding debt at all costs. In a really simple summary, that is.
You gotta get out of debt.
In 1986, Ramsey had amassed a significant portfolio of wealth over $4 million, which he leveraged debt to get. However, in 1987, a new law came in regarding banking, which caused several banks to change ownership, and they recalled his $1.2 million in loans and lines of credit.
Main bank we were dealing with, we had $1,200,000 with them in 90-day notes because we were buying property and flipping it. And that bank got sold to another bank. So they called our notes, gave me 90 days to come up with $1 million. There's no way.
Not having over $1 million just lying around, Dave was unable to pay it and as a result filed for bankruptcy in 1988.
Because bankruptcy didn't happen to me. I caused it by borrowing too much money. I was just straight up stupid.
Eric Decker, known as Airrack, is a YouTuber who has quickly amassed more than 1 million subs, doing so in only 1 year. Airrack strategically socially hacked his way to this amazing achievement. A key element of this required him to spend ridiculously. It required him to take out a loan and buy a $90,000 Mercedes-Benz couch from Logan Paul.
The couch series was basically a series where I purchased Logan Paul's legendary $90,000 Mercedes-Benz couches. And he listed them on Craigslist. He was trying to get somebody to buy them off of his Instagram stories. And I thought and I had done some stuff with Logan in the past, and I thought that would be a great way to create an episodic series.
From that, he made 4 videos entitled The Couch Series, which led him to gaining hundreds of thousands of subscribers. He had to take out a loan not only to buy the couch, then he had to pay to fly there, hire a U-Haul to bring the couches back, and so on.
I didn't have $17,000 cash, like liquid. So what I did was, again, high risk, high reward. I took out an SBA loan for $17,500. I opened an LLC called Airrack and Associates LLC, which I thought it was a funny name because it's just me. And then I went to the bank the next day and applied for an SBA loan of $17,500.
Could Airrack have done this without taking out a loan? Realistically, no. I understand why Dave Ramsey says what he does. For some people, it is solid advice.
That is 30 years to the day from when I filed bankruptcy. When I'm talking to one of you on the radio, I can feel the emotional pain of a 27-year-old guy with a brand new baby and a toddler that's scared out of his mind. I can feel that more real than I can feel the emotion I felt yesterday about something. And it was 30 years ago.
Not everyone is going to be Airrack, and not everyone is going to be as strategic as Airrack with their debts.
And so now I'm attaching my video style, a production value that I'm confident that people will consume, a personality that I'm confident people will consume, to an idea they're already familiar with, right?
Also, let's be honest, while the video series does make sense, it could have also flopped.
The worst thing that can possibly happen is I spend $20,000 on this video, it's everything I have, and it doesn't work out, and I go live with my parents.
Another time he had to max out his credit cards to get out of a situation where he was stuck on a private island off the coast of Florida. What Airrack is doing is strategic, but it's also high risk. He has managed to get it right and is succeeding. To be fair to Dave Ramsey, Airrack could have got this wrong. If the Logan Paul couch videos failed, who's to say you wouldn't have had to file for bankruptcy? However, I would say Dave Ramsey's debts when he went bankrupt were amounts he couldn't probably cover with a day job at the time. Whereas someone like Airrack, if he failed and say had $50K or $100K in debt, he could probably go and get a 6-figure job in the filmmaking or marketing field. It would take him years to pay back the debt, but he could potentially recover from that without having to file for bankruptcy. It would be a horrible situation, but the point is he could avoid going bankrupt. To put it into perspective, it's also less than the amount of debt that you get from most college degrees. Whilst you wouldn't have had a college degree from it, you do get a show reel and experiences to talk about, which in filmmaking field can be valuable for getting jobs. I think Dave's incredibly jaded by his experience and therefore goes way too far the other way. In a similar way to what you see when a guy gets divorced and then says marriage is the worst thing ever. Just because marriage didn't work for them doesn't mean it isn't valuable to other people. One thing that I have a problem with a lot of financial experts is they never operate in the gray areas. Their advice is always either black or white.
I don't agree with Dave Ramsey's advice, which would make you wrong.
They always have to focus on the extreme, but in reality, a darker gray or a lighter white might be a life-changing improvement for most people. That is, not overextending yourself in debt is good advice. However, saying someone shouldn't ever get in debt is taking it too far, and whilst it may be true for them personally, it's not the case for many people. If we look at it differently, some people can't handle a beer without getting wasted. It causes major problems in their life. Whilst other people are okay with having a drink or two with friends and stop it. One person shouldn't be drinking whilst the other can manage it in a balanced lifestyle. So the advice on drinking for the two is very different. To be fair to Dave Ramsey, most of his audience aren't Airrack, and he's not giving financial advice to Airrack specifically. However, there is the lack of gray area. And in Airrack's success, including financial success, it is almost by directly doing the opposite of what Dave Ramsey says, which is ironic to be financially successful by contradicting one of the leading financial experts.
But when I decide to do something, I will either succeed or die trying.
It's also quite a bit to think about that both approaches can be right, especially to different people. Clearly, both people are successful and both are living completely oppositely.
Learning business definitely helps me grow faster on YouTube.
There are obviously similarities such as their hard work and dedication and so on, but it's more the irony of being an example of where people are successful intentionally doing the opposite of the advice of leading financial experts. It's important to remember that many people giving advice are basing it off their own experiences. However, your experiences, your preferences, your lifestyle, your natural abilities might be completely different. And more importantly, your ability to handle risk might be significantly different too.
I think that you have to always think about risk versus reward too.
It's also easy to focus on the scenarios where everything goes wrong as opposed to everything going right. Most people who borrow money for a house don't end up bankrupt. Most people who borrow money for investment properties also don't end up bankrupt. But Dave Ramsey did. Most people who start a YouTube channel don't get 1 million subs in a year, but Airrack did. On a side note, help me get there and do that by subbing now. Instead, I think the lesson to be learned is that both are very strategic in what they do. They assess the situation based on their experiences and then go for it all in. So think about what that is for you. I enjoy both these people's work and find them interesting. As always, this is just food for thought to get your mind thinking. I hope it adds some value, and if you enjoyed this, please chuck me a like, and otherwise, good luck.